आपको फ्री मार्केट चाहिए और फेयरनेस चाहिए तो इट इज द मोस्ट फेयर थिंग. इसको स्टामिना चाहिए तो मिल गया, इसको ज्यादा चाहिए तो नहीं मिला. That's option. That's why it's a very interesting thing. Okay. I'll move on. Okay. Now, some operational issues.
No problem.
Today we are going to issue the bond. The bond will be 2012 plus 5, 2007. It will be maturing in 2017. It will be a Government of India bonds. What should be the coupon that should be written on the bond? What should be the interest rate, which is the coupon? That's the mistake I made. So what should be the coupon that is on that? What is done is the cutoff rate, the cutoff yield is used as the coupon for all. And therefore, this guy wanted 8.25, whatever is partial, you forget that, and they are getting 8.25. But this bond is being given to this guy also. He had said he will give, he had said he needs a yield of 7.5. So this is unfair. He had bid 7.5. Now you are giving him 8.25. This is unfair. So what they do is they make this fellow pay a premium. How it is calculated? You need to have. He gets 8.25 rupees every year. Okay? His investment is X. This should work out to this is his yield per year, isn't it? If it is 100, you have to multiply. You are not used to it. Okay? If it is 100, fine. So this guy pays 100 rupees per bond. We always calculate face value 100. So he pays. How much will this guy give? Little more.
8.25 divided by 7.5 into his investment.
It's not very straightforward like this because cash comes further down for time value. But something like this. So this guy gives more, this guy gives little more, this guy gives little more, and this guy gives 100. This guy of course is out there. Now, this created problems. I have lived through this history, so I'll tell you what. When they did this, we were all very thrilled, fine. What happens to this guy? Suppose this was issued on 28th March. He is holding a bond. He has paid 102 rupees, let us say. And what is the price of the bond? Actually it is 100. Those 2 rupees he has to book depreciation, loss immediately. So these guys have to book a loss immediately because they have paid more than the market value. X should be more than 100. They would have paid 100 plus delta, and this is a loss. And why is this loss there? Because this guy gave the correct price, or this was the cut-off price. This in our language is called winner's curse. These 3 people are subjected to winner's curse.
So instead of asking them to pay more and
If
higher interest rate.
If MDI is selling 6 elements, I bid 10 rupees, you bid 20 rupees. You pay 20 rupees and take your element. I will take my 10 rupees.
But you are paying extra. So the premium they are paying.
And you want marketing choice.
Instead of that, you give a flat 8.25.
That's the old one. When that was done, you didn't like it. You said it is not marketed. Anyway, what is the effect of that, let me complete this. The effect of that was traders like me, we refused to bid. We said, okay, you bid, we will buy it at par. Because once it is issued, it becomes tradable. So that day trade, I will buy it at par.
But this is a commitment, they cannot refuse this commitment.
No, they can't. But they
Later
can.
on they can.
Next auction, I won't bid. So the bids came down drastically. They said we will wait for the second price to come to the market and we will buy. So they were in a bind. Now most of them, they do what is called same price auction, or called the Dutch auction. They go through all this and there is no premium collected from this.
Same price and same interest.
This is used for
Just to arrive at a
price
interest rate.
Yeah.
Otherwise they can fix also, government will fix all.
Okay. Last question. Suppose nobody has bid. Then what happens? Then Reserve Bank of India takes. There are lots of mechanisms. There is underwriting.
RBI self-buys, RBI is doing this.
No. RBI is doing it as a merchant banker for
Merchant banker for government. So they themselves will buy them.
It's not so simple answer, but at this stage this is good enough.
But what is the interest rate at that time?
RBI decides the cutoff. There is a lot of problem in the sense, suppose like she said, cartelization, or suddenly nowadays rates are 8-9% for 5 years. Suddenly somebody says no, we want 12%, or there are no bids, or whatever it is. That will create problems. Then Reserve Bank had the flexibility of taking it on. They still have, but they try not to take it on.
Is there any cartelization? I don't think, because it is so varied, so many institutions are there. Or it still is possible?
Possible, but because of competition, etc., it's not becoming. There is a problem in that.
It is an exception.
There was a cartelization and there was a problem in that in the year 95-96, if I'm not badly mistaken. The coupons had gone up to 14.5. You see, there is a problem in if the coupons go up. I'll state it technically. If you want, I'll have to explain it. Banks are holding up to 30% of their balance sheet in Government of India bonds. Fine. If in one or two auctions, in the auctions in March, if they take up the coupon to very high levels, then the entire portion of their holding will have to be depreciated. I'll have to teach bond pricing for this. I'll give you the formula. What are bonds? Bonds mean, I define bonds as an instrument which represents a set of cash flows. And the cash flows are, let us take the 10% Government of India 2032. Okay? This is how we name it. Now, I am going to get 10 rupees every year. That is year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who is the I?
I is the investor. I as an investor, I am entitled to cash flow of rupees 10 in the first year, cash flow of rupees 10 in the second year. That way, till the 10th year, in the 10th year, I am entitled to 100 plus 10, maturity value plus 10, or face value plus 10. These are in different years. Have you studied present value concept? The present value of these cash flows would be, if the rate of interest is say 9%, what am I trying to explain?
What is the 100%?
face value of the bond plus coupon for that year.
Well, that
returns the
this is
original.
Yeah, this is the maturity.
32 or 22? Then after 10 years, it will be 22.
I have a small board. No, if you do it in Excel, it's very fast, but unless you do it. Okay? Now, if the rate of interest in the system which is there now for 10 years, let's take 9%. Then the face value of this, sorry, the present value of this would be given by this formula.
See, 09. 09.
Sorry. Okay? I didn't know how much you had done. What we say is the present value of future cash flows is the sum of cash flows, that is the coupon, this one, plus divided by okay. There is a bond. Bonds will have coupons paid every year. There will be an interest rate as of today for that period, and this is the present value of all the cash flows, coupon cash flows that are coming in the future. This is the present value of the face value of the bond. If you add these two, this should be the present value of the cash flows which are coming because of the bond, and therefore this should be the fair price that you can ask if you want to sell the bond. If this is a fair price, or this is the price at which I would be willing to buy, you would be willing to sell, or I would be willing to sell, and you would be willing to buy, because this is the rate of interest that is today. When the rate of interest goes up, because it's in the denominator, the price goes down. When the rate of interest goes down, the price goes up. This we call the inverse relationship between the interest rate and the price of the bond. So, come back to cartelization. It has happened in India. In March, let us say the rates of interest go up by 1 or 2% because of cartelization. Then the market price of the bonds, existing bonds, falls. Market price of existing bonds in the market falls. If the market price falls, when you draw up the balance sheet, you have to put that as depreciation. PNB showed a huge loss on because of this. So, because of these accounting intricacies, etc., cartelization will kill the banks themselves. Number one. Number two, there is competition. Number three, people want bonds because of the SLR, etc. So, cartelization has not really worked. In fact, I can tell you a story. Tarapur was the deputy governor. One of the senior journalists now, Padmanavan, Anil Padmanavan, he had interviewed Tarapur. My room was a little further down. He came and said, Tarapur was laughing when I said, sir, are they doing capitalization? The coupon has gone up to 14.5, 10-year coupon has gone up to 7.5. He said, they will soon learn a lesson. And he didn't elaborate. So this guy came and he said, what did he mean? So we had to work it out, and when we realized that this is what is going to happen, we also had to work out. It happened, people had to pay a price, so now they just don't take it up unnecessarily. Okay. Now, few things. And so, program 1.5 hours. I think it's enough. You have a 2-hour session.
2 hour session.
Now, different instruments that they use. One is called bond, what we discussed. These bonds are maturity greater than 1 year. Okay. I'll ask the first question. What happens if the fiscal deficit is 0 or negative? That is, there is a surplus. Now, we, in our option, we threw up a we threw up a cutoff yield of 8.25 for 5 years. If let's say MDI wants to float bonds for 5 years in trade, should we float at 8.25, 8.25 plus or 8.25 minus? See, MDI wants to float bonds.
Plus.
Plus.
No, minus.
Nobody
Less interest.
Yes. If I float at 8.20, nobody will buy my bonds. If I do 8.25, nobody will still buy my bonds. If I do 9, yes. So that is called the premium that non-government sector has to pay. So if this is 8.25, Government of India will be here. Anybody who issues bonds will have a markup. So let's say sale bonds will be here, maybe sale, Reliance, etc. MDI will be here, etc. All these you are aware of. They are now rated. So we have what is called AAA, AA, A. What I want to convey to you is the following. The auctions of Government of India bonds set the base or reference level for all other bonds. And many maturities are issued, but generally 5 years, 10 years, 20 or 30 years bonds are traded heavily for speculation purposes. That is for making profit, buying the bond for selling it soon, for trading purposes. And these are called benchmark rates. So Government of India bonds, sovereign bonds, become the benchmark bonds. All other economic news, all other news which affects, gets reflected in the price of these bonds, and the market is, debt market or players speculate on the debt market. To answer this question now, if there is no deficit, fiscal deficit, Government of India will not issue bonds. If Government of India does not issue bonds, then how will the others issue bonds?
Some other can become the base.
Yeah, but that has to emerge. The market has to accept. Acceptability by the market will take time. So for a short term,
So if the Government of India doesn't need money, that doesn't mean that people are not willing to invest. Government of India may not need the money. But people are willing to invest, people have surpluses, so they would like to invest as well.
Other corporations may require.
your sentence is very powerful.
No.
Government of India doesn't need money, others want to invest.
No, fiscal deficit is 0. So Government of India does not need the money. But people, general public and all, have the money to give to somebody or to invest.
Yeah.
And
Agree.
corporations are there.
So
Agree.
they would like to invest.
Right now, what we are all doing is, or whoever is trying to set the coupon, we take the government of India and then put others. Okay. There are ways of doing it, with clusters and things like that. But if it is not there, something else will have to emerge, and that will take time. I am not saying the debt market will come to an end, but it will remove.
That is the point, Clinton, that you are trying to now
Yeah,
probably.
it happened.
It happened in the
During
US.
Clinton's time, they had a surplus budget, and we issue 5 and 10 in India in bulk and traded in bulk. The 30-year bond is issued regularly in the US market. 30-year treasury it is called. So it is issued regularly. Once they stopped, the whole system stopped. It didn't stop, but they didn't know kya karega. So we'll have to ask you then. This is accepted by all. So the question of which becomes acceptable and AAA with respect to what? This is considered zero risk. AAA is slightly better, slightly riskier than zero. So when you don't have a zero risk, what do you do?
But in the US, there was really been a pressure because most people were buying government bonds rather than market.
Yes,
No, US is the other side.
No, you said in US, people like to buy government bonds over their state.
Sir, how this regulation is working?
One question.
If people were generally not buying government bonds but buying some other mutual funds or some other investments, then there is no pressure even if government has to issue bonds.
No, I did not say there was a crisis. You see, when we say crisis, it was a crisis for the bond dealers. How to price the bond. Like for example now, if you want to sell a house in Bangalore, there is a crisis in the sense nobody knows what is the right price because it is frozen. People are not buying and selling. In Gurgaon, everybody is buying. I don't know why, but everybody is buying. When people are not buying and selling, it is very difficult for a person. Of course, he can sell it at whatever price he wants, he can buy it at whatever price he wants. But the brokers find it difficult to say this is the price. But if there are a large number of transactions, then the price, it makes sense to say this is the market price. You know, like seasonal fruits, for example. You can price grapes. If I say grapes are 200 rupees a kilo, then there is something wrong. If I say grapes are 20 rupees a kilo, then also there is something wrong. It should be 40, 50, 60, 70, depending on the variety and where you buy, etc. So, off season, let us say, then what do you do? Mangoes, for example. How would you price mangoes today? You really want mangoes, you pay through your nose. You may pay 200 rupees kilo, you may pay 500,000 rupees kilo, whatever it is.
Or cherry 1,000 rupees kilo. Let me come to the point he was raising. I think. I mean,
In the beginning itself, you mentioned that what happens when the people are very rich and they are buying other companies like what is happening in Middle East. What is the situation? And I just relate it to the another question. Sir, we know that China is selling a lot and the US is borrowing it. Is the same scenario?
So that will I have to tell you something else because that is operational. Yeah, you want to say something?
you were saying that I was saying the interest rate is not relevant. You actually didn't get the discussion which I was trying to say, that in the US or in Japan, rate of interest is not a tool available because it's close to zero. So in that context, your deep depression and recession, rate of interest as a policy tool becomes irrelevant because you cannot really pay more money and reduce the interest rate because it's close to zero. So in that context, rate of interest is not policy. But in India, we are far from that situation. So obviously that is not it. So I think, I don't know if you entered late or what, you missed out the main part of the discussion. You remember only the liquidity trap part we were discussing. Their interest rate is not really, because in Japan, interest rate is close to zero from 20 years. Because Japanese central bank basically cannot do much. That is the concept I was trying to get.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Once I was reserving at one for inspection to a place called Salem, and there was a strike. I was staying in a hotel, and there was a strike, and it had to be total strike. Nothing was available. So we went and did whatever we got. Their quality is not an issue. Price and quality is not an issue. Somewhere we saw some poor people, they were munching something, we went and said, give whatever is there. Fortunately, I am non-veg, so it didn't matter what I ate. What he is saying is that liquidity trap is a very specific, problematic situation. At that time, these things. Yeah.
So you say that bonds are traded in speculation, in because of speculative pricing. How is speculation? How do they?
आपने कभी सट्टे पर खेला है? मुश्किल है सर.
How do they expect?